What you have to do to be comfortable in this world and what you got to be rich in this world, two entirely different things, different mentalities. I could train any human being, regardless of age, race, creed, color, socioeconomic background, educational status, it didn't matter. They could have this much desire and I could amplify it, and in 6 months, they'd be rich too. Here's the bottom line, it's very simple. There are 4 things that you have to do to be wildly successful at anything.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, it could be money, relationships, spirituality, in love, community, contribution, how you feel each day. That's 4 things, not 1,000 things, it's 4.
Yep.
And I was doing these 4 things at the highest possible level at my firm. If you're doing those 4 things in any aspect of your life, you could even suck at them. But if you do all 4 of them together, you're still going to become wealthy. You're still going to hit whatever it is you're looking to hit. And here's how it starts, okay? The bottom line is this. Most people have goals in life. And we've been brought to think you got to be goal-oriented. That's the first mistake. Yes, you need goals, but there's something far beyond goals, which is what all successful people have, and that's a vision. It's a vision for the future. See, here's it is. You see things as they are, but not worse than they are.
Yep.
Which is what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
They say, oh, it's so terrible. They tell themselves this wild story about why they can't take action. And in truth, the story they tell themselves is exactly what holds them back from being successful.
Agreed.
It's that bullshit story that stops them from acting. And they're, oh, there's so much, the economy, and they play the blame game, they complain, they justify, and it stops them from moving forward. So see things as they are, not worse than they are.
Yep.
And then see them better than they are.
Yep.
And make them that way. Listen, let's focus on money for a second, because especially this time in the economy, everyone's interested in making more money and securing the future for not just themselves, their families, for the children. And this is important. People say, money doesn't matter. I'm like, oh, so you're broke. Well, if someone tells you they're broke, they never had any money, because just look at it like this. Just imagine if you said that your wife wasn't that important. How long would she stick around?
Yeah.
Not too long, right? Money's important. Driving a Ferrari is not going to make you happy.
No, it's definitely not going to make you happy.
And by the way, and here's the thing. If you love to collect Ferraris, you like to drive, that's great. I'll show you how to get a Ferrari. Making money is easy. It's really, really easy. What's harder, though, is fulfillment.
Yeah.
Money's just a part of the equation. So here's the way it is. You see things better than they are, make them that way. It requires 4 things, and here, I'll tell you what they are. I'm not going to hold it back. Number 1 is vision.
Yep.
The ability to create a clear and compelling vision for the future. And the way you do that is you actually, when you set a goal, you have to step into that goal and start to visualize it. You got to taste it, touch it, feel it, literally, really internalize it. Say, how would this world be? It's not just about when I get to there, then I'll be rich, or I get to there, I'll own a business. What's my world going to be like? How it's going to impact the people that I love? My parents, my children. How much time I'll see. People have a misconception. If I make money, I'll have less time for my family. Bullshit. When you make money, you have more time for your family. You secure the future of your family, future of your grandchildren. When I became wealthy, really wealthy, in the brokerage firm, which I'll get to later, and lost everything, which I did and I deserved to, because I made some fundamental mistakes, which I'll go through too. My parents, who are now 77 and 78 years old, still alive, they became wealthy because of me. And they're still wealthy, and they struggled their entire lives. So when you become wealthy, it's not so much what you can do for yourself, what you can do for other people. That's where the fulfillment and the joy comes into it. So number 1 is the vision, right? And if you look back at it, if you want any confirmation, look at a Gandhi. Right? He survived hunger strikes and united a country, not because he had a goal for a free India, he had a vision of a free India. Nelson Mandela, all those years in jail, a vision.
Yeah.
Richard Branson, who's a friend of mine, who I know he sponsors me, my speaking tour. He's a visionary. Bill Gates, they're all visionaries. And the best example, considering we're in Hollywood, is a guy like James Cameron. Now, here's the trap. James Cameron is probably the greatest visionary of all time in filmmaking. Would you agree?
Yeah,
he was interviewed on Diane Sawyer, and they asked him a question of, what do you owe your success to? And what he said was this: I set really, really high goals. So even if I fall short, I'm still doing great. And people thought that was pretty profound, and I actually believe in that too. It's not true though. See, what's happening is this: James Cameron is not a goal setter, he's a visionary. He just doesn't realize, because he's running unconscious strategy himself. If I said that James Cameron was it really just the goals, or do you have a vision for Avatar? He'd say, oh, of course I will. Then he'd get all excited and he'd tell you how nothing was going to stop him from making this movie. The fact that it took 10 years and ran $200 million over budget and he put money in himself, that's not what goal setters do. Goal setters will set a goal, gets tough, and they abandon it. And I overemphasize that distinction. That's number one, is vision. Second part is the ability to manage your state, the way you feel in the moment, your emotional, your physiological state. And that is the key, bar none, the most important distinction in life. Because what that does, it allows you to access the resources that you have. If you're in an angry, pissed off, negative, unresourceful state, you can't do anything well. You've had one of those days, for instance, where everything you're doing, you're like, I can't believe I said that, I can't believe I did that, I'm such a fool, right? You had that day? We've all had that day.
Yeah.
Next day, similar situation, you're like, wow, that was me. I did a really great job, right? You were perfect. So one day you're brilliant. Next day, same situation, you're brutal. That's not talent. That's not ability. That's the state that you're in. So the key to success is not just to have your vision, but to be able to manage the way you feel in the moment. Now, if you're a parent, what's the most resourceful state? Patience. If you're a businessman looking to make money on Wall Street, it's probably certainty.
Yep.
Or courage, because fear is the worst emotion of all for being a trader on Wall Street. So every business has different states that you need to master. Now, in most businesses, in matters of wealth, there's three states that you need to master to be able to trigger at a moment's notice. And it's easy to do once you learn how, which is what I teach people, okay? And number one is certainty, to be certain about what you're doing. The second one is clarity. To be clear, to not to be overwhelmed, which the opposite would be overwhelmed. And the third is courage, is to have a conviction, to know that you might not be right all the time, but you're not going to let fear stop you. Because if there's one distinction that between the wealthy people of the world and the poor people of the world, is that wealthy people act in the face of fear, while poor people run away from fear.
Agreed.
Okay, so it's state management is number two. And what I do is I have this high impact process that really show people how to manage their state. Not like, oh, I'm going to manage, I'm talking to a razor's edge.
Yeah.
Not all day long, because it's not about perfectionism, it's about progression.
Yeah.
You get it? You want to be in progress, not perfection.
Yeah.
That's the second thing. The third thing is your beliefs. And you mentioned the word beliefs before, and people throw that word around a lot. And it's a buzzword for self-development, but here's the bottom line with beliefs. They act like governors on a car. You brought up a Ferrari, so use a Ferrari. A limiting belief is like putting a governor on the engine of a Ferrari. The Ferrari can go 240 miles an hour. It has 550 horsepower, 4 valves per cylinder, 12 cylinders. But if there's that governor not letting the gas go through, you ain't going over 55.
Yeah.
That's what a limiting belief does. It stops you from charging forward when you should and causes you to move back when you shouldn't. And we all have them.
Agreed.
And they started getting inserted in our heads when we were yay big. We were all unstoppable on day one. And then came day two, when our parents started spoon-feeding us limiting beliefs. Sometimes, they meant well, they just didn't know, because, one of the things that I'm a big believer in is that we were not even given our owner's manual. Our brain's an immensely powerful computer, and this is, known by pretty much everybody in the self-development world. Some of the top people, Dr. Richard Bandler, who I trained with, one of my mentors, and a brilliant guy. And the first thing he said to me is, you never got your owner's manual, Jordan, and because of that, you don't realize that the world around you, that you take it as reality, it's really not. It's subjective. The reality I'm looking at is just subjective. I can interpret things how I want. I can have the beliefs that empower me, and I can shed the beliefs that disempower me. So the first thing I do when I meet somebody, when I coach really wealthy people, some stars in Hollywood, the first thing I do is go through what their limiting beliefs are.
Yep.
And you got to root them out. And it's not difficult. You can't just root them out. You got to replace them with empowering beliefs, which is typically the opposite belief. Right now, what I was doing at my brokerage firm, interestingly enough, getting back to that, is each day at my firm, if you read the book, I gave 2 meetings, the morning meeting and the afternoon meeting.
Yep.
And in the meetings, I was actually running this strategy. I had them visualizing their success. I would talk about the life.
Yep.
Now, the average kid that came to work for me was about as smart as a box of rocks. They were. They're like, none of the kids went to college, okay? They were not the Lucky Sperm Club members. It wasn't the deep end of the gene pool or anything like that at all.
Yeah.
These were the forgotten. These are my people, right?
Yeah.
They came to me, they thought they'd be working in pizzerias. And the first thing I said to them was this: the moment you walk through the store, everything in the past falls off.
Yeah.
You sit behind this desk, you say the words I teach you, you become as powerful as the most powerful CEO in America.
I've learned one thing, that the easiest way to make money is create something of such value that everybody wants, and go out and give and create value. The money comes automatically.